Enable Ireland supports children with disabilities all over Ireland, just like me.
Support children like Kyle by popping your pre-loved clothes, accessories and homeware in a bag and donating it at any TK Maxx. Each bag could raise up to €20 for Enable Ireland. Give up clothes for good at TK Maxx.
And take action for children with disabilities.
Welcome into Sports Memo's betting podcast for Monday, March 4th. We're doing NBA every game on the board with Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Are you kidding? It's March, my friend. And as you know, as soon as the calendar turns to March, all of a sudden there's a smile on everyone's face. There's a little pep in everyone's step. Really looking forward to the next couple of weeks. Both college hoops and NBA. Great time of the year to be a sports bettor.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, college hoops, everybody knows about that as far as March Madness is here. I believe some of the small conferences are starting their tournaments, so it's actually really starting as far as tournament March Madness. And NBA as well, coming down to the playoffs. We were just talking about the Lakers making the playoffs prop, and really NBA's catching some headlines too. It's a good time to be an NBA sports bettor, huh, Teddy?
Well, what I love about the NBA in March is that college basketball sucks all the oxygen out of the room. So what happens is, basically the power ratings you see for teams at the beginning of March are the same power ratings you'll see for teams at the end of March, regardless of how they play. So this is a great time of year for riding streaks in the NBA. We'll talk about a couple potential streakers as we break down every game on the board.
Every game on the board in the NBA. Teddy covers 67% all sports run last 10 days. He's 4-0, 100% in March. College hoops so far last year. Killed it well over 60% in March in college hoops and 69% in the NBA since February 12th. So good in both sports on the hardwood. And Teddy, let's start at the top of the board here in the NBA. 7:35 Eastern tip, 4:35 Pacific. Dallas at Brooklyn, 227 the total with the Nets laying 5 at home.
Yeah, the Nets are falling apart a little bit right now. 5-10 their last 15 games. Struggling at home. They've lost 5 of their last 7 at home. And, oh, by the way, they got a big road trip, a 7-game trip looming next week. So it's a little bit circle the wagons time here for Brooklyn. Head coach Kenny Atkinson, quote, "This is kind of like playoff time. Teams raise their level, so just playing good defense isn't enough. We have to take another step up, and the contests have to be a little bit better. The contests have to be a little bit better. The individual defense has to be a little better. We have to turn it up a notch. Just being okay or good isn't good enough right now with teams desperate to get in to the playoffs." Of course, the last 3 games for the Nets have been as ugly as it gets. They've lost by a combined 49 points. The shooting's been bad. The defense has been bad. Then again, not like the Mavs are playing great ball. The Mavs have lost 6 of their last 7. Shellacked at home by the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday, a 30-point loss. So 2 teams coming off some pretty ugly showings. I worry about Dallas, a team that was a point spread moneymaker for a good portion of the campaign. For the first half of the season, they were the number 1 team in the NBA point spread wise and productive in every single role. Home favorites, road dogs, doesn't matter where Dallas was, back-to-backs, off a win, off a loss. They were moneymakers in every role. That has not been the case for the Mavs, and they traded away 4 of their 5 starters at the trading deadline.
Guys, we got $9 Monday at sportsmemo.com, and Teddy has his Monday night NBA Smackdown available on the front page of sportsmemo.com for just $9, normally $20. So a great day to check out Sports Memo. Discounts across the board. Every play is discounted to just $9. So a 5% play, normally $30, just $9. Regular play is normally $20. Just $9, more than half off. 503-504 up next. Teddy, Atlanta at Miami, 222.5 the total. The Heat laying 9.5 in South Florida.
Yeah, and this has not been Miami's role, to put it mildly, this season. I believe for the entirety of the campaign, since day 1 this season, as favorites of 6 or higher, I got the Heat with a grand total of 3 point spread covers. They have been 3-7 in this role, and as a favorite in any game, they've been money losers. This is not a Miami team that has been particularly adept at finishing off opponents. All that being said, they're coming off a game in which they dominated. The Heat have had a problem holding leads. They got a big lead against Brooklyn, and they stuck their foot down, winning that game, their 3rd consecutive point spread cover after knocking off Golden State and almost knocking off Houston in Houston. And worth noting, there was no hangover effect after blowing that Rockets game late They came out and really laid a whooping on a Brooklyn team that, in theory, had that game circled. Tough spot here for Atlanta. You can understand why the money's come on Miami. Miami Hawks coming off a big win. Remember, they lost in 4 overtimes to Chicago earlier in the week. Then they had a chance yesterday to repay the favor in Chicago, which they did. They got the win. They hit 21 three-pointers in that game. Everyone was hitting from beyond the arc. 7 different Hawks players got into double figures in that contest. They're still playing without John Collins, which is a major concern. Collins has been really their best low-post player this year as a rookie, at least for extended stretches. So coming off a win that they needed and not needed, but they really wanted, coming off a game in which they were hitting just about everything from long range, I do worry about Atlanta's ability to bring it on the second of back-to-backs, even though Miami has shown no ability to cover these type of point spreads all year long.
Teddy, we got 5:05, 5:06 up next. Denver at San Antonio. 230, seeing the total, some 230 and a halves out there. And pretty much one across the board, although I see Chris, bookmaker to American-facing clients, just went to 1.5. Seems to be a leading indicator book. So might be some money coming in here on San Antonio. How would you look to bet this one?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with the money coming in on the Spurs right now. And remember, they had a rodeo. When we think about San Antonio historically, this is a team that year in, year out, they play great ball on the rodeo road trip. They're out of town for 3 weeks, and they've always found a way to come together. Well, this year that didn't happen. And obviously, it's a very different Spurs franchise. They're young with the exception of the core group of veterans, DeRozan and Aldridge. They're a very young team, and they played like it during the rodeo road trip. And now they're home, and all of a sudden, boom, back-to-back wins, back-to-back covers against a Pistons team that's been playing very well. And yeah, an OKC team that's been struggling, but still a good team. So we've seen San Antonio circle the wagons the last couple of games, and that to me is a bet-on situation for a Greg Popovich coach team, especially after a long stretch of underachieving. And meanwhile, here's Denver, who's been as good as anybody this side of Golden State in the West all year. And we talked about the great point spread teams. Denver's been one of them, profitable in every role. All of a sudden, home loss to Utah, home loss to New Orleans, poor defense in both those ball games. They've been trending under big time, 5 straight unders. The offense isn't clicking right now for the Nuggets. And you go back and look and say, oh, well, Denver off a loss, Denver off a couple losses. This has got to be a good bet. Well, no. In fact, straight up, they're only 10-9 off a loss. They're only 7-12 against the spread. On the highway, they've covered a grand total of 2-point spreads all year, coming off a defeat. So I like the way San Antonio is playing, and I understand Nuggets should be circle the wagons here, but maybe Spurs are past for this better. I can understand where the market's moving towards San Antonio, and I can also understand, we've seen some over money in this one. I'm not convinced that's going to be the pace this game is going to go at.
Teddy, I got a betting philosophy question for you in the NBA. Talking 507, 508, Milwaukee, Phoenix up next. And, the NBA in general, and this is my opinion, the better team, the more talented team, is going to win at a higher percentage of time in the NBA playoffs. One, because it's a 7-game series, therefore the more talented team is going to have more chances to rise to the top. And 2, it's the way the sport of basketball sets up. One player matters more, therefore, if you have the more talented players and the better coaching as well, but it just matters more because there's less players on the court and the way the game plays out. So talking about Milwaukee, 48-15, I believe it's the best record in the NBA. However, star power, I don't know if they're there. You know the NBA way more than I do. But would you say that there's almost an advantage to maybe looking to fade Milwaukee down the stretch and in the playoffs? Or no, you think that this is a team that can cash some tickets and stay strong when games start to matter, national television in the playoffs, you got to win to stay in. Would you look for the Bucks to be a bet-on team?
Milwaukee has been a bet-on team all year. They have the superstar in Giannis, the captain of the All-Star team, a guy who's very much in play for the MVP. I expect him to win over James Harden. Certainly if Milwaukee finishes with the number 1 seed in the East, I expect Giannis to beat Harden for that award. The supporting cast for the Bucks is as good as anybody in the NBA. I mean, you want to talk quality depth. the Bucks have it. The Raptors are right there with them, but Milwaukee's made all the right moves personnel-wise. This team is absolutely loaded. So you say, well, are they going to let down? Are we going to see the Milwaukee take a breather? I'm not sensing any of that. When you read the quotes from Budenholzer, when you read the quotes from Giannis, this is a team that is absolutely focused on regular season success right now. Excuse me. You find a team like that, they're not a team I'm necessarily looking to step in front of. And, oh, by the way, for tonight's game, Milwaukee's coming off a loss. And, they say sure things in life. What are the sure things in life? Death and taxes. Well, death, taxes, and the Bucks off a loss. 14-0 straight up this season off a loss. 12-2 against the spread coming off a loss. They didn't play well in Utah the other night. They still got in under the number, which is just one more time. It shows what the Bucks are capable of doing, coming off that wild win against the Lakers, coming off that wild win against the Kings. It's the last game of a road trip. Sure, it's not your step-up spot. And no, I don't lay 12.5 on the road in the NBA very often. But if I'm playing this game, I don't want Coach Igor, who's, hanging on by a thread. I don't want the bad organization in Phoenix. And I don't want a Suns team that has been playing out the string basically since early November. Bucks, once they show signs, maybe you say, all right, they're a fade team. Not right now. They haven't shown any signs yet.
Yeah, good point. And you're right. Giannis is a superstar. So when I said not as talented, it kind of meant just, compared to the Warriors or not, I don't want to say teams like that. But do you think Milwaukee could beat Golden State in or would be, I guess, competitively priced versus the Warriors in a 7-game series?
No one's going to be competitively priced against the Warriors. They have 5 All-Stars as starters, and nobody can compare with that. They have, they've been in the finals each of the last 4 years. Nobody compare with that. So Golden State's going to be priced differently than the rest of the league once the playoff starts, as they should be. They're that difficult to beat. But all that being said, I'm not selling this Bucks team short. Remember, they don't have the postseason history of success. And the NBA usually means you got to win a series 1 year, and then maybe you win a couple of series, and then you get to the finals. It's like a 3-year run. The Warriors did it that way. And the Bucks, in my mind, they could absolutely represent the Eastern Conference in the postseason. I don't think they will. The top 4 teams in the East, man, that's going to be a battle come playoff time. And Milwaukee's certainly in the mix. Budenholzer's not getting outcoached by anyone, and Giannis isn't getting outplayed by anyone. So, and the depth is there for the Bucks. So, I am bullish on the team. I just don't know if they're going to be. The fact they don't have the playoff history makes me worried about their ability to win the East and get to the finals. But I wouldn't sell them short.
All right, Teddy. Well, guys, remember it's $9 Monday. Check out sportsmemo.com. All plays discounted to just $9. Teddy's got his Monday night NBA Smackdown discounted to just $9, and his NBA remains hot, cashing 69% clip over the past 3+ weeks. Teddy, let's move down the card here. We got New Orleans at Utah, 229.5. The Jazz laying 10.5 in Salt Lake.
Yeah, frankly, I'm tempted by New Orleans at this price, and I don't love the spot. I really don't, but I am tempted. It's a Pelicans team that continues to play hard, continues to win games, continues to cover point spread. Yeah, Anthony Davis is sitting half the time. Yeah, he's not playing crunch time minutes in the fourth quarter, but this is a team, they're loose, they're free, they have a ton of scorers. They really do. Holiday is draining shots. Elfrid Payton is one of the top 5 in the NBA in assists since the All-Star break. Julius Randle's on a roll. Jahlil Okafor can fill it up. We've seen Frank Jackson step it up, and Chucky Diallo stepping it up, a double-double in his last game for New Orleans. They went up to Denver and won outright. I don't take the Pelicans lightly, and I think the markets have them underpriced right now, but they are off back-to-back wins. They are playing now against a team that plays defense. And look, New Orleans is not going to win defensive struggles, okay? They can outshoot teams. They absolutely can. They can outscore you. But if it's a defensive game, the Pelicans do not bring it. That's not how they're built. the Jazz have been pretty good at covering some of these numbers. Boy, they've been a good point spread team lately. I've got them 8-2 or 7-2-1 against a number of their last 10. Been real good in the home favorites role, but didn't cover against the Bucks the other night. Didn't cover against the Clips before that. Donovan Mitchell's been on a monster roll, and Utah's been good in this, big double-digit chalk range. But if I'm playing, I want the dog. How about this for New Orleans? +8 or higher this year. I got them 9-1, 90% ATS. They've been very good in this role.
Dang, 90%, nothing to shake your head out. Teddy, let's get to the get-back slate here. 5-11, 5-12, New York at Sacramento. Looks like 7 Pacific tip. That means 10:05 on the East Coast. 229.5 the total. Sacramento, the Kings laying 11 at home.
Yeah, they're playing a Knicks team that gave up 80-something in the first half yesterday against the Clips. It was 82-46 at halftime in that ballgame. If you had a Clips ticket, you were not sweating the second half, although the Knicks did outscore them after halftime. And, of course, the Knicks for the second of back-to-backs will be relatively fresh because nobody played in the second half. But, if you're anytime you're taking the Knicks right now, there's a leap of faith. It's a very intriguing year in the NBA where many of the tankers aren't tanking. You know what I mean? Cleveland's playing hard, and Chicago's playing hard, and Atlanta's playing hard, and Memphis is playing hard. The Knicks, they're tanking. The Suns, they're tanking. Those are two teams I have a hard time putting my money on right about now. All that being said, you want to talk about a disastrous stretch since the All-Star break. Sacramento's covered some numbers, but when it comes to the playoff picture, and this is a team that's really hungry to make the playoffs, and, what's happened? They haven't been winning a whole lot of games. Losing to the Clippers and losing to the Bucks in overtime. They battled the T-Wolves and came up short. They had the 2-point loss against the Warriors where they came up short. They had the Nuggets on the ropes and let them go right before the break and came up short. So we're talking about a team that's 1-5 their last 6 ball games. This is supposed to be circle the wagons time if you're going to make the playoffs. Buddy Hield after the loss. We've got 20 more games, so it's not like it's the end of the world. We could go off and win 5 or 6 in a row and make this thing fun again. We're not done yet. I don't like that quote. I read between the lines there. Don't be thinking about 5 or 6 in a row. Be thinking about beating the Knicks by margin tonight. Sacramento, not a team I'm comfortable laying double digits with right now, even against a hopeless Knickerbocker squad.
Teddy, subject on the podcast the last couple times, Lakers making the playoffs. -110. You're saying there's plus 500s out there?
600.
I gotta find one of these, man. I want to make that bet. I think they can make it.
Yeah, it was. I shouldn't say. I don't know if it's there now. After they lost to Phoenix, it went from +3. It was like +330. It went all the way up to +600. There may have been some buyback since then, but I know on Sunday morning, yesterday morning they were at +600. I did not look today.
Guys, if you're out there and you know a offshore book that's offering the Lakers to make the playoffs prop at a good number, please hit us up on Twitter at Teddy_covers or myself at Drew Martin Bets. Let us know where you're finding it. We got 513, 514 to finish it off, Teddy, in the NBA. Then we'll touch on a little college basketball if you're up for it. 513, 514, LA Clippers, LA Lakers battle for Los Angeles. 234 the total. Lakers laying 4. Teddy, do you price this being at home, laying 4?
Yeah, it's a fascinating point spread, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because my number was 2.5, and I've been pricing the Lakers a little bit higher than the markets of late. So certainly what we're seeing from the markets is this is circle, okay, it was supposed to be circle the wagons time against Phoenix. It wasn't. And there was no question. The Lakers had a big, ugly hangover in the game against the Suns over the weekend. Remember, this is a squad that were they up 13 to – oh, no, they were leading the Bucks with 2.5 to play on Friday night and then proceeded to allow a 13-0 run, 4 different Milwaukee three-pointers, bang, 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 bang. And next thing you know, oops. So much for that game. And the Lakers ended up losing and failing to cover. Really a disastrous final 2.5 minutes of that contest. They were hung over the next night in Phoenix. The markets are saying this is not going to last forever. And this is the circle the wagon spot for LA. I don't know that I disagree with that. It is. The Lakers, of course, haven't played a lick of defense. And it's not getting any better. But, this Clippers team, they're so young right now. They're one of the youngest team in the NBA. They got 3 starters under the age of 22 years old since the trading deadline. And the Clips, another team, we're going to trade away our assets at the trading deadline. We're going to tank. They're 6-3 their last 9 ball games. So much for tanking. The lineup's been retooled. And certainly I'll say this much, with the Clips well ahead of the Lakers in the playoff standings right now. It's not like the Clippers are going to be, Lakers, you win this one. Clippers sitting in the 7th seed right now. They have a full 5-game edge over the Lake Show. So it's a bigger game for the Lakers than it is for the Clippers. But you're laying points with a team that's not in real good rhythm and hasn't played a whole lot of defense. I lean LA. It's their spot. They're supposed to win tonight, but they were supposed to win on Friday night too and let that one get away. That was a slap in the face for me and the clients and a ticket that I thought I was going to cash. And I do worry about this team's mentality right now. There has been so much endless hype about the Lakers and their struggles.
Guys, $9 Monday. That does it for NBA, but we'll touch on a little college basketball here to end it. Teddy's got a free play up on the Kansas State TCU game, so check that out on his homepage at sportsmemo.com. A free play, Kansas State versus TCU. $9 Monday. He's got his Monday night NBA SmackDown play, just discounted to $9. So check that out at sportsmemo.com. All plays discounted to $9. Teddy, we got 863-864 Virginia-Syracuse. We have the Kansas State TCU game that everybody can read your detailed analysis on sportsmemo.com. We also got Texas Tech. Anything on these 3 big games? And also, Teddy, wanted to ask you, as the smaller conferences are starting, one, do you concentrate on betting them? Do you think that there's value in heavy favorites? I mean, I believe Lipscomb, who's likely going to be a tournament team, was laying 30. Now they're laying about 25, so a 5-point move there. Also, any other small schools you're interested, just kind of overall view?
Yeah, I saw Lipscomb. The highest I saw was 27.5 at BOL last night. It's down to 24.5 right now, so it has been a 3-point move to the dog. And again, the favorites, especially in the opening round of these tournaments, it's about survive and advance. It's not about running up the score. All that being said, the underdogs, who this is going to be their last game of the season, and they know they're outmanned and they know they're outmatched, and there's no NIT bid, or there's no CBI bid, or whatever the smaller conferences are, smaller tournaments are. When this is going to be their last game of the season, and they know it, and they're down by 15 in the second half with 10 minutes to go, and everyone kind of looks at each other and, you see the deflation. You see teams that can't take a punch and fight back, and that always worries me about the bigger dogs in conference tournament times. One thing I do not do in conference tournament times is try to start handicapping conference that I haven't followed all year. So this is the Atlantic 10 Conference. It's not been on my radar. I don't know the teams well. I don't know the nuances of the teams. And these conference tournaments, the nuances are so key. How'd they beat? What's the history between these two teams? What does this coach think of that coach? There's all kinds of little factors that when you know a conference well, you can find these edges that aren't in the betting lines. In smaller conference tournaments, with the teams you don't follow, I'm not trying to learn a conference in 24 hours to get involved in conference tournament betting. That's why when it comes to the best week of the betting year next week, when you have action all day, every day, morning, noon, and night, I'll be involved much more then than I will with some of the smaller conferences this week because they haven't been the schools that I followed this year. When we talk about Virginia and Syracuse, rule number 1, don't bet against Virginia on the road. Rule number 2, don't bet against Virginia on the road. Rule number 3, don't bet against Virginia on the road. The Cavs have been insane. I mean, what are the numbers? I got them with 1 point spread loss on the road all year. And admittedly, they had a lucky cover at Duke where they hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer. So they should have 2 point spread losses on the year on the road. The same story last year. What are they, like 17-2 ATS, their last 19 road games in ACC play? You can't fade this team on the highway. The markets, of course, don't care about the trends. They just I don't know what they like about Syracuse. But they like something tonight. Not me. 59-44 the last time these two teams played. Right here on this floor. 44 points for the Orange. Virginia's held, they just held Pitt to 49. They've held 10 different teams under 50 this year. So, I understand the Orange had a nice win over Wake, and all the shots were falling. And I also know they have pulled off a couple of upsets over Virginia in recent seasons. They did it in 2017 on this floor. But Cavs on the road, it's a one-way ticket for me. Either you bet it that way or you leave the game alone. That trend has been cashing and cashing and cashing and cashing. And still, the markets are saying, too many points for Virginia on the highway. Let's bet it the other way. Not my money.
No, great breakdown. I don't. It's an interesting handicap. And for $9 Monday, I got to play on this game. But Teddy, we also got Texas Tech playing a big one in the Big 12. Did you have any quick thoughts on that one?
It's really is an interesting game. Texas Tech is good. I'm not stepping in front of the Red Raiders, and we saw it again over the weekend where they went to TCU, and that was a circle the wagon spot for TCU, and they were talking about all the seniors stepping up, and we got to win, and that game was over by halftime. Texas Tech throttled them, and I know that Texas has been a really good dog this year. I know they've gone on the road and hung everywhere, They hung at Baylor, lost by 1 in that game, covered wire to wire. At Oklahoma, they lost by 2, covered wire to wire. They won by 22 at West Virginia. They covered wire to wire at Iowa State. It's been very consistent for Shaka Smith's squad, Shaka Smart squad, I should say, where, when they hit the hostile environments, they've come together and hung tough. Okie State, they hung tough. Kansas, they won by 20 at Kansas State back in January. So this has been their role, but they're not the better team. And Texas Tech, the defensive numbers continue to be absolutely extraordinary for the season. This isn't one game. This is for the season at home. They've allowed 55 points a game on 34% shooting, less than 29% from beyond the arc. Those are the type of defensive numbers that cover point spreads like this one. I will not be stepping in front of the Red Raiders.
He's Teddy Covers. Over the last 3+ weeks in the NBA, 69% clip. You can get his Monday night NBA Smackdown at sportsmemo.com. Discounted just $9 for $9 Monday. Every Monday at sportsmemo.com. I also got one up on the aforementioned Virginia-Syracuse game. Watch and win on ESPN, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So check both of those plays out at sportsmemo.com. For Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk tomorrow. Talking NHL on the podcast with Alex and Andrew McGinnis. So stay tuned. Talk to you tomorrow, guys.
Enable Ireland supports children with disabilities all over Ireland, just like me.
Support children like Kyle by popping your pre-loved clothes, accessories and homeware in a bag and donating it at any TK Maxx. Each bag could raise up to €20 for Enable Ireland. Give up clothes for good at TK Maxx.
And take action for children with disabilities.
I'm often asked, what kind of people join Two's company? Well, people who are fed up with online dating and the pub scene. They're single because they just haven't found exactly what they're looking for yet. We believe in quality over quantity. So if you're looking for that someone special, come in and talk to us today. See twoscompany.ie. You're in good company with Two's Company.